our next speaker, who is connected to this, of course, is Chris White. The Coalition to Restore Hope to DPS was formed in 2007 as a result of the school closing process in DPS. Coalition members consist of citizens, parents, educators, and businesses, and members have belief that the school and education is the lifeblood of the community. And with that spirit, the Coalition restores hope to DPS by sponsoring programs, progressive programs, and engaging in direct legal action on behalf of the DPS children. I think somebody got to look out for our babies if we're not able to do so on our own. And the programs address balanced academic systems for special needs students, strengthen the community and school relations, and address school safety. Coalition programs include Roundtables for Peace, Operation Flash and Stand, Skate Off Stress, and the viewpoints on issues can be viewed on this blog if you go to the blog restoringhopetoeducation.org.
Before I get started, I see many of the elders who have helped and guided me throughout my life, so I ask for your permission to continue. Over the years of studying Malcolm and being in the community and being active on various different levels, we've come to the conclusion that the Coalition to Restore Hope to DPS at the Institute, that we still have to deal with individualism, materialism, and opportunism. We feel that that impedes most movements today, that we have become a generation of hustlers. You know, you have people that hustle their heroes, or hustle their challenges, or hustle their knowledge, which is one of the worst type of hustles that we can have. We take what we know and we use it as a weapon, and we have to use what we know to develop culture and replicate positive culture, and train our young people to do the same. The materialism is simple. I think we all understand the powers of the capitalist system and what it does to us. And we use the movement sometimes for materialism. Some of us run game, charge big fees. You know what I mean? Sometimes the worst thing that can happen to you is you can meet your hero or shero. So we deal with materialism. And last, and this is nothing new, that's one thing that I would say to people, there's nothing new that most of us will say. I mean, maybe things have changed. Maybe we'll say it on Facebook. Maybe we'll say it on the microphone. I first heard the mention of Grassroots on the album. You know, the house burned down, but I saved the album. You know, so it still smells smoky. Every now and then I have to scratch a little Malcolm. But it's the opportunism that we deal with. You know, you have a lot of people that are going out, taking the opportunity to use those, you know, that may not be aware of what's going on, or showing them the wrong ways, or saying one thing and living another. So it's all, before we even get to dealing with all of the problems that we have to really do a check on our own individualism, materialism, and opportunism. Now, one of the things that I look at with the message of the Grassroots, the speech, I look at what was going on during those times. A lot of what was going on during those times is still going on here in Detroit today. They had Mayor Kavanaugh, and some of us are pushing Mike Duckett. Same thing. They had a murder of Cynthia Scott, problems with the police. We still have that today. Nobody has faith in the new chief, and he hasn't even touched down yet, but we already know it's gonna be more of the same. There's gentrification, just like when you take a look at what happened with the 2 apartment buildings downtown, displacing senior citizens, displacing people who can't afford to live in standard housing. Right here where we're sitting today, people were fighting against gentrification because they were removing the black churches to build the hospital complex and things of that nature. So when you take a look at what was happening in 1963, some of the same exact things are happening in 2013. So you really don't have, it's like I can look out my window and see my car because it's 20 years old and has 200,000 miles on it, so I know it'll be there when I look out the window. You don't have to look that far to see in our elected leadership or lack of. You talk about Governor Ross Barnett, Governor George Wallace, Orville Fobbs. We have it right now with Governor Snyder. We have it right now with Andy Dillon. And the nerve of our so-called black leadership to bow and scrape and shuffle and hustle down there on Grand Boulevard at the State Building, kissing up to him, and then we find out he's struggling with his own problem. That's the first question that should have been asked when you sat down with the guy. So when we talk about, I don't think that we have a problem with unifying, and when I look at the studies of Malcolm X, he always spoke the truth. He probably, when he snored the truth. His snore was probably full of truth. I think that we have to deal with the truth when we come together. If I know that I can't go against the director of Henry Ford Hospital because he butters my bread, my bagel, or my toast, then I need to let you know up front, man, I can't do that. If somebody has some deep, dark secrets on me, caught me tipping out the club drunk or something, I need to let you know that, well, no, I can't go against that person, but here's how you do it, because if I'm involved with you, they're gonna expose me. And then everything that we're fighting for goes down. So we have to, or just simple, I don't know what I'm doing. I know I sound good. I know I read The Miseducation of the Negro. I know I read Anacalypsis, but man, I don't know what to do in this situation. Well, when you say that, you have just saved our lives. Just simply being honest. So I think that we need to look at truth while being unified. And then I think that we can have better results and lead to some solutions. And, you know, as I come to a close, I have to take a look and say, I don't think you separate. I think that, you know, for activists that's out here, I know when you first get started, you know, we tend to waste a lot of time. Is it Bible versus Quran? You know what I mean? Was it Booker T going at it with WEB? Did one have a black belt or did one have a green belt? You know, we waste a lot of time. And depending on how nice the audience looks, we waste a whole lot of time. So we need to look at the connectivity of everything. I take a look at Malcolm, and I don't separate him from Dr. Betty Shabazz. There's so much you can learn just from looking at the way she carried on afterwards. And there are people on the stage right here who helped her carry on. She came through Amherst. She came to Detroit, and Ruby Dee and so many other people helped her continue her life as she raised the 6 daughters, 2 of which he did not even get to see. The struggle, and how does that relate to today? Single mothers going to Medgar Evers College, feeling like they want to drop out of school. They run into Dr. Betty Shabazz. She tells them, this is how I did it. This is what I went through. She tells them stories about the King family. Not only was Dr. King murdered, but his mother was murdered too in the church. A person that's confused in today's day and age, feels like dropping out bills and everything's piling up. After hearing Dr. Betty Shabazz just simply talk to them about what it takes and how she overcame, keeps them moving, keeps them going. And then Detroit's connection to everything. So goes Detroit, so goes the country. And that's why it's so important what we're doing here, and that I don't have to ask, what program come out of it, because the people here have been doing that. Sometimes we get very hard on ourselves. We get into these arguments, but we have been doing it. So I'll just close by saying, for activists, what I get out of message to the grassroots is he opened it up by calling it a chat. He put himself right on. That's the first thing he says. When I put my burnt album on, that's the first thing he says, is that we're gonna get down and have a, chat. So he puts himself right with the people. He's not to be deified, because he would not want that. Another major part is in the chat: stop airing your differences in public. I'm mad because you speak better than me. I'm not going on talk radio to call you out. I'm not going to do that. So we need to stop airing our differences out before the public, especially with what we got going on, not only here, but in our White House, because they definitely are not your friends, especially when it comes to education policy. And also what he says is, be prepared to defend your movement from being co-opted. He breaks that down about how the people were stirred up and how Birmingham exploded and all of that, and how Kennedy and the crew co-opted the movement. So you must be prepared, to defend yourself from being bought off. Study history, have a worldview, as Dr. Strickland said. Speak truth, but speak it strategically. And live the truth by building institutions that led to the development of culture. So we move from survival culture to developmental culture. Thank you very much.